Hey guys, Ezra here. Welcome to my latest video. This is a gear rundown of the last two videos that I did, the V3 and V4 that I recorded with the Philosopher LB. He wishes to remain anonymous, so I've called him the Philosopher LB, so I'll refer to him as that for the rest of the videos. I want to apologize a little bit. There might be a little bit of audio in the background. My son's in the other room playing Fortnite with his friends, so there might be a little bleed over from that. So I'll apologize in advance. So anyway, a little housekeeping item. If you could all subscribe, that would be fantastic. I'm trying to build a following, so any subscriptions I can get would be great. The whole idea of the format of this show is to kind of build a base of people who've subscribed to the show, and then I'll try to release a new show every week, and then I'm going to try to bring as much talent into the show as possible. So we'll talk about things like philosophy, we're going to talk about gear, we're going to play music. It's really just going to be a very free form. You know, whoever wants to come in and work and play and be in the show, we'll kind of tailor that show around whatever they have to offer. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a lot of ideas and a lot of people who have already agreed to take part. So anyway, with the Philosopher LB, the last two videos I didn't really provide any explanation as to the gear that we were using. And some people had said in comments they wanted less explanation and more playing, and other people said they wanted more explanation and less playing, or they would still really like the explanation. So I decided to do a dedicated show where I just talk about the gear that I used in the last two shows, and specifically two pieces of equipment that I used. There is the Beck Strat, which is this guy right here I have behind me. This is the Beck Strat. It's a Stratocaster that I bought in 1992, and I've had it for a long time, obviously, as a result. I really love this guitar, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that. And the other thing is the Echoplex, which is another piece of equipment that I've had for quite a while. It is an analog tape echo. So let's talk about the Beck Strat first. So the cool thing about the Beck Strat is it's a signature series guitar that came out in I think the first one was in 1991, and I think this is the first edition. There have been many editions, so they made modifications to it as Jeff Beck played or decided that he wanted different additions to the guitar or different changes to the guitar over the years. They've made modifications. But this is the very first edition that they came out with. So this is his very first kind of idea of the ideal guitar for Jeff Beck. And when I picked it up, I'll tell you, it's a funny story. I played a gig in Greencastle, Indiana, and I made my first $100 playing a show. I think we made at the door maybe $800 or something like that. We put a little bit of money into the band, and then we gave $100 to each of the musicians. And I got my first $100 as a musician, and I was super excited. So the first thing I did, I went out and I spent it immediately on a guitar. And of course, this guitar was much more expensive than $100. So I ended up having to call my mom and be like, yeah, I bought a guitar. Can you help me out? And she did. I had to pay her back, obviously, but it was very nice of her to help me out in getting this guitar, because this guitar really spoke to me when I went into to play it for the first time. And I had never seen a guitar. They'd always kind of there had been Strats and there had been Telecasters, and I'd always seen like Japanese models and American models that were too expensive for me. And this is kind of the introduction of the Signature series. Was the first time that I saw a Stratocaster that really spoke to me and had some kind of individual characteristics. And this is the one that had really the characteristics that I like the most. It has a rosewood neck, which is very nice for playability. It has a super thick neck, probably the thickest neck I've ever seen on a guitar. It's modeled on a Gibson, actually, of like a 1950s or 1960s Gibson. And the story is that when Fender asked Jeff Beck what kind of Stratocaster he wanted and what he wanted on his Strat, he was having some trouble with his hands. I think he was like having carpal tunnel or something like that, and at the time. And he said that he wanted the thickest neck they could possibly put on it, make it like a baseball bat, he said, basically. And that's kind of like what this is. I call it the baseball bat neck, because it really is like half a baseball bat if you look at it and the way it feels. And it feels great to me because I have really big hands. So and actually it just has a really nice feel to me. It's not like the fastest neck. It's not like you're going to play anything by Yngwie Malmsteen or Steve Vai or anything on this guitar. It would be kind of difficult. But for rhythm guitar, it's amazing. And if you're Jeff Beck, obviously you're going to be playing amazing solos on it. I'm not Jeff Beck, so I play kind of mediocre solos on it. But I really enjoy playing rhythm guitar on it. Because for one thing, it has amazing sustain and it keeps its tone. And there's a couple secrets to that. One is that it has locking tuners. So those have been around for quite a while. These are the original Fender locking tuners. So how that works is you just take the string and you pass it through the tuner and then you lock it down. So instead of wrapping the string around the tuning post there, you actually just lock it down on the post, and so there's no room for the string to move once it's locked in place. So that's nice. So you're not going to get any slippage on the string. The other thing is that it has a rolling nut, so you're not going to get any situation where the actual nut is kind of a pinch point for the string and would kind of hold the string out of tune or do something like that, because it has a rolling nut, which has actually got little rollers in it. I think they actually call this a graphite nut, because this one does have rollers in it, but I don't think they're all rollers. Some of them might be little graphite spot. And then the other thing that's kind of another thing that has been kind of controversial about the 90s series Stratocasters is that in the 90s, Stratocaster, or Fender, decided to put lace sensor pickups on all its guitars. And so all the guitars in the 90s up until like 96 all had lace sensor pickups. And lace is the last name of the person who invented the pickup. But to be honest with you, the marketing is not really helping them, because lace sensor is not really much of a kind of a rock and roll kind of sounding name. So we say, well, what kind of pickup is that? That's lace sensor. It sounds kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't sound very rock and roll. So that's not helping them. And then the other thing is that it doesn't really sound exactly like a standard Stratocaster pickup, because it has a couple of unique characteristics. One is that it has the magnets in it are actually kind of smaller than a standard magnet. And the way that they can do that is they have a bunch of magnetic shielding inside the pickup that allows them to make a smaller magnet. And as a result of having a smaller magnet, there's a lot less string pull on the string from the magnet in the pickup. And so with less string pull, you get less detuning of the string, so the string stays in tune a lot better. So that really helps with the tune. And then with the magnetic shielding, you also get the effect that the pickup is very quiet. A lot of people call this a noiseless pickup. It's not really a noiseless pickup. It's not like a stacked humbucker or anything like that. It's actually just a very heavily magnetic shielded pickup, and that allows it to be very quiet. So in the combination, you get a very quiet pickup that has very good tune, and so a lot of players that played these original 90s signature model guitars really enjoyed the pickups a lot, even though they didn't have a kind of classic Strat tone. But when you look now in the kind of in the tone forums where people talk about the lace sensors, they're generally panned, and the reason for that is that they don't really sound exactly like a standard Stratocaster pickup, and for all the reasons I just described. But you know what? For a long time I thought, you know what I should do? I should just take the whole plate and just swap it out. Actually, when you take this plate off, they have what's called a swimming pool underneath it, so it's all routed out between here. So you could literally put 3 humbuckers in here if you wanted. So you can put basically any configuration of pickups you want in this guitar. But I thought maybe I'd take the plate off and I'd put some kind of like boutique single coils on it, and I'd get rid of the humbucker in the back, which it has. But then when I built the Hattie Lou, which is another one of my Strats, which I talked about in my second video, I put Lawler pickups in that guitar, and so once I did that, I decided, you know what, I don't really need to swap out the pickups in this guitar, because I already have the Lawler pickups in that guitar. So one day I might swap out these pickups, just because I might get kind of really sick of the tone of the lace sensors. But right now I find them kind of interesting sometimes, especially for distortion effects and for playability. So there's all the kind of nice things about the Jeff Beck Stratocaster that I was playing. Color doesn't hurt either. I love the lime green, kind of stands out on stage and in the videos. So that's the Jeff Beck Strat. The other thing that I used in the videos is an Echoplex. And the Echoplex is an analog tape delay. So let me show you the Echoplex here. I have it in front of me. I'll pick it up so you can really see it. So it's like a big black box, essentially. And this is a 1970s, an EP4 Echoplex. I guess that's version 4 of the Echoplex. It's a solid state Echoplex. There is a tube version of the Echoplex. This is not a tube version. The tube version is a green box usually, and they tend to be very expensive. I think I saw one recently in a store. It was around $600, I want to say, something like that, and it was in working order. But finding an Echoplex, just finding an Echoplex in working order is a job in and of itself. But finding one that's in working order and is a tube version is really rare. So I saw one at the Music Emporium, and I thought about buying it, but you know what? I already have 2 Echoplexes, so what do I need a 3rd Echoplex for? So anyway, let me open it up, and you can take a quick look at the inside. So how does the Echoplex work? It's actually a tape. So there's an analog tape in the Echoplex. It's in a loop, and there's a record head and a playback head. And the echo is the difference between the record head when the sound is recorded and when the sound is played back. And the playback head is actually on a little sliding arm here. And we'll take a closer look in a minute at how exactly all this works. We'll take it apart and we can look at the tape and all that stuff. And then you turn it on, and there's the ability to get it to feedback. So it's the number of echoes that you get, and then also the distance between the echoes, and you can control those with the playback arm. So when you add all those kind of effects together, you can get this kind of crazy effects. And if you listen to recordings from the 60s and 70s that are kind of this space kind of vibe, those are usually done with something, either an Echoplex or something just like an Echoplex. And so the Echoplex is kind of famous for that respect. So when I was working with the Philosopher LB, and he was playing on V4 when we played Wild Horses, I think I kind of scared him a little bit at the beginning because I showed him how to use the Echoplex first, and in the process of doing that, I got into a really nasty feedback loop, and I think he got a little freaked out by that. So he was worried that he was going to get into a feedback loop and wouldn't know how to get out of it, and that would kind of ruin the song, ruin the vibe of the song. And so I should have encouraged him that, you know, that's okay. You know, we can always do another take or whatever. Let's just like play with it. But he was worried that he was going to ruin the vibe of the song, so I think he just kind of was very careful with it and just made very small adjustments to it. But really what you can hear in the song is the kind of warmth of the delay and the warmth of the Echoplex, because what's happening is every note that I play is actually being recorded onto tape and then read back off of tape and then played through the amplifier. So it's really cool because the tape gives it a natural compression and a natural warmth to the recording. So I really love the Echoplex. It's got this just amazing warmth to it. And you know, if it wasn't just that it's an analog effect, and analog effects can be quite temperamental. They can, you know, suddenly die on you. So just to kind of safeguard myself against that, when I was playing out a lot with the Echoplex, I actually bought myself a little Dan Echo, which is a Danelectro. Let me show you that too. I bought myself this Dan Echo, which was intended to kind of replace the Echoplex or be a digital version of the Echoplex. I have it right here. So this is the Danelectro Dan Echo that I bought to safeguard myself. So if the Echoplex ever goes out, boom, I've got this Echo right here. I can always just swap the Echoplex out with this guy, and I'll have an Echo that I need. Unfortunately, this is not a stereo out, but it is a standard Echo. So I'm not crazy about the Echo from this guy. It's certainly not as cool as the Echoplex. It's not as warm, but it's still an Echo and something that I could use as a backup if I needed to. So that's the Echoplex. So why don't we do a deep dive on the Echoplex? So I'm going to take a break for a minute. I'll pick up the phone, and we can do a deep dive on the Echoplex. Okay, thanks. Hey guys, so we're back. Here we are with the Echoplex. I just wanted to give you a little rundown, close look at the Echoplex. So I'm going to open it up here. Take off the back. It's got kind of information about the Echoplex and how it operates in here, which is pretty cool. It tells you all about it, how it operates. I have the original back here that actually shows all the information. A lot of time this paper has been ripped out or whatever, and this is really nice that it's not like that. I also have the original foot switch, which is really rare too, because a lot of times these were lost. So I have the foot switch, and this can be used to turn the Echo on or off. So it's almost like a kind of standard foot switch like you'd have for any other effect. You might have on a stomp box or whatever. So there's that. And then when you take this top off right here, you can actually see the kind of the coolness of the Echoplex kind of is revealed in all its glory. So this is the tape, actual original tape here. You can see this is the tape, and talks about the Echo a little bit, and the tape runs just in a loop through the, and you can see here there's a record head and a playback head, and this playback head is actually on a little arm here so that it can slide back and forth, so you can make it longer or shorter. If it's shorter, you get a much tighter echo, so it's like pop, 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 and then as you slow it out, it's pop, 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 and it'll kind of give you like a longer echo. And it also has all kinds of other all kinds of other effects that kind of come into play as you play with it. So I think what we'll do is we'll do an A/B between the Dan Echo and the Echoplex. That would be cool, huh? So let's do that. Let's set that up. So let me put this all back together. All right, hey guys, we're back, and what I got going on here is I've set up the Echoplex and the Dan Echo as promised. I'm running both of them through this Twin City ABY box that I have, which is a really cool splitter that I bought specifically dedicated to that. Before I'd been using a chorus pedal, but I was worrying that the chorus pedal had some bleed and it wasn't truly had a true bypass on it. So I went ahead and I went on Amazon and I looked at all the reviews for the different ABY pedals. And this seemed like it had really great reviews, so I picked it up, and I'm really happy with it so far. So what it has the ability to run as a splitter, where you just have a single input, which is right here. This is your input. And then you have two outputs, and you can, if you have the Y on, then they're both running at the same time. You have both outputs going, and then if you turn off the Y, then you either have A or B. And what I'm doing here is I'm running A is running into the Echoplex, and B is running into the Dan Echo. So if I switch over to B, then I get the Dan Echo. And what I've done is I've kind of changed the Dan Echo a little bit, the settings on it to match the Echoplex. So it's a little bit like the Echoplex. Long echo, about the same period, and it's got that kind of dark flavor that the Echoplex has because of the tape. But it is a dark echo, which is nice because it sounds a little bit more like the Echoplex. You have the ability with the high cut to change the Dan Echo so it has a much more crisp kind of sound, like a traditional kind of digital echo. But if you switch that high cut, then you get a nice kind of dark sound to it. So I did that. So let me just see. This is Freddy by C. Ray Vaughan. Well, it's just the intro anyway. That's the Dan Echo, and I think that's a pretty sweet sounding echo, actually. But now, if I move over to the Echoplex, let's take a look at what that sounds like. So I'm just going to hit the A/B over to the A side, and we'll see what the Echoplex sounds like. longer amount of sustain, and I have the Dan Echo, actually what they call a coin, so it's all turned all the way up in terms of the amount of echo that you can get, or the number of repeats that you can get on the echo. The Echoplex is nowhere near that. It's kind of right on the cusp of feeding back, so you get a little bit of that nice feedback. And actually, with the feedback, when you hit a nice chord like it just seems to go on, and it kind of builds on itself almost. You can get it to build. Sounds pretty sweet. I've got it. There can be a lot of issues with the Echoplex. When I was playing with it earlier, I definitely got some noise coming through the Echoplex. But right now, I'm not really hearing any of that. It's pretty quiet actually, and I'm actually very surprised that it's so quiet. It could be that I turned off and I'm not using my my little lapel mic, which has a wireless mic. I'm not using that anymore. So I wonder if the lapel mic at the frequency that it was running at, I wonder if it was interfering with the Echoplex, or there was something like that going on, because the Echoplex is extremely quiet right now, and I'm really impressed with that. So let's take another listen to the Echoplex. That sounds pretty sweet. I gotta say, that Echoplex sounds amazing. Now let's move over to the Dan Echo and see if we can do the same thing. And I can tell the Dan Echo actually has a shorter period in terms of the delay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push that out a little bit with the speed. I'm just going to bring that back a little bit. Let's see if we can get the same. That's a little better. So let's see if we can get the same kind of sound out of the Dan Echo. Let's move over to the Echoplex again. Let's try Freddie. close. I gotta say, the Dan Echo has a little bit more attack. The Echoplex definitely has a warmer feel to it. It's a little softer, and the Echoplex is definitely more temperamental. So I would say, you know, if you were going to a gig and you absolutely needed something that was definitely going to work the first time right out of the box, I would take the Dan Echo. But if you were recording and you could deal with something that was a little bit temperamental and you could just dial it into the exact kind of sound that you wanted, I would definitely go with the Echoplex. So let me play a little something else on the Echoplex. Dan Echo, see how that sounds. Well, I gotta say, they both sound really sweet. The Echoplex, in my mind, is a little bit nicer because it's got a little warmer tone. It's got that natural compression from the tape. And actually, I'm really surprised that the Echoplex is not more noisy than I expected. I expected I'd hear a lot more hiss, a lot more tape hiss coming through the speakers. I am not hearing that right now, and I'm really impressed with that. So let me turn up the Echoplex a little bit in terms of its volume, so it's matching. So it's matching the Dan Echo a little better. But I gotta say, the Echoplex has a pretty sweet sound. Let's just But you know, the thing about the Echoplex is that you start playing it, and you really just like, you just kind of sink into it. You know, I didn't feel that with the Dan Echo. With the Dan Echo, I definitely felt like I had an echo, and I was getting what I wanted. I had an echo, and I was getting what I wanted, but I didn't feel like I was getting kind of the feel that I wanted that I get out of the Echoplex. But the Echoplex, again, is a little bit temperamental. It's going to feed back on you occasionally. You're going to get that. It's a little bit hard to control. I'm sure there are people out there who are going to comment and say, you know, they know how to control the Echoplex perfectly. I have more difficulty with it, but I definitely love the Echoplex. Love the sound of it. Would use it absolutely for recording. I don't know about using it again for gigging out because of the temperamental nature of it. But the Dan Echo is a good replacement, so I would say, you know, go with either, whatever suits you best. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and remember to subscribe and hit like if you liked the video. That would be very helpful for me. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.